Join us on Owl's World, where today's topic is Women's History Month. We will be discussing women leaders in the Southern community. We will also be joined by a very special guest, Kate Lynch. All that and more coming up. Hello and welcome to Owl's World. We're your hosts, Guy Robinson Jr.
and Dajae Rose. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. On Southern's campus, you don't have to look far to find strong women leadership. Today, we'll take a look into Southern women's lacrosse team as they beat Cadwell in a 20-3 non-conference win in New Haven, Connecticut on March 8th. The Women Owls 3-1 on the season. Anchor Gary Robinson Jr. is on the field with Bailey Takis, who is a graduate student on the women's lacrosse team at Southern.
Your team put up 20 points. What was the offensive strategy that made the game so effective for you guys?
Yeah, so we've actually implemented a pretty new offense this year, trying to play everyone's strengths as players. So we know who our drivers are, we know who our feeders are, we know who the people can cut and make space for others. So today the main focus was really implementing that and making sure that everyone was doing their job. And when you do your job, you get good results. So that was the main objective there.
What does Women's Month mean to you? Because today is International Women's Day, so what does Women's Month mean to you?
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's great. It's great that we have a month. I mean, it's just full of opportunity. It just shows how much more there is to grow as women and as a country and a world for equal opportunity in all areas. We had Women in Sports Day. I don't know if it's international or national, but Women in Sports Day in February, which is awesome, giving back to the community. And, you know, we're so thankful every day that we get to do what we love and be as a team and just empower each other on and off the field.
Next, we will take a look into Southern's arts. We have the story of Galatea, a queer love story set against a backdrop of a classical myth. A tale of two young girls in love, a hungry sea monster, a girl gang, Cupid in the flesh, and much more. It is a play with many women lead roles, directed by Rebecca Goodhart. The play took place on March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 8th at the Main Stage Theater located in the Lyman Center. The Women's and Gender Studies program is committed to integrating scholarly inquiry, critical problem-solving methods, professional training, cooperative leadership skills, and practical strategies for interventions in real-life situations affecting the well-being of women locally and globally. Reporter Dajae Rose got to speak with Professor and Director Yi-Chon Tricia Lin as she speaks about the program.
They think this is about, men hating, all these very, very stock images about, women's, stock images out of women's liberation. It is not what matters to women. Everything, right? Everything, family, children, work, health, relationship, culture, religion, everything. Women's and gender studies as a discipline investigates all these things, what makes the world run or not run, and how can we address some of these barriers and make the world a better place. And the goal is always not just we want to make it better for you, and you, right? But more importantly, we want to make it better for our children.
So do you know of any jobs people can get into after, they get their degree here?
That's my favorite question. More often than not, people walking into this program, they want to either continue they want to continue with academic pursuit, become professors, researchers, and another very popular one is to enter a nonprofit to serve communities.
Up next, we have field reporters Liam and Parker. They take us on the street.
You couldn't even name 10 women leaders.
You couldn't even name 10 women.
I bet you don't even know who Whitney Houston is.
It's March, and that means it's Women's History Month. I'm Parker,
And I'm Liam.
and today we're going to be talking to students about women's history.
Let's go! For Women's History Month, who's the most underrated woman?
Selena Gomez.
I would say J-Lo.
Dr. Smoyer here. She's very underrated.
All the single moms out there that are supporting their kids.
For Women's History Month, what's the biggest issue facing women today?
I would say the pink tax.
And for those of us who don't know, what is the pink tax?
It's when like certain items, like usually pertaining to female items, clothing and stuff that is charged, it's more expensive. Like shavers, men's shavers, significantly less than women's shavers.
The pink tax can also refer to feminine hygiene products being taxed as non-essential luxury items by the state instead of necessities.
One of the issues that women face today are the wage gap, especially POC women. So Native women, Hispanic women, and Black women are paid less than white women and men in general.
For Women's History Month, what is the biggest issue that women face today?
Well, as a Black woman, it's kind of hard to just survive because there's a bunch of stuff that we got to go through, like when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to dating.
As Black women, we don't get taken seriously because we're Black, obviously, and especially for Black pregnant women. They don't really care about our pain.
We get it on every aspect of life, like literally everything, like dating, like she said, jobs, healthcare, everything. And also it goes like white men, white women, Black men, and then Black women. So it's like we're the bottom of the barrel, and I feel like that's really not fair because they should be able to see our worth.
For Women's History Month, if you could be any woman, who would you be?
Carrie Fisher.
Alex Morgan.
Tessa Thompson, because she got to play Michael B. Jordan's wife. I'm not trying to play his wife. I'm trying to be his wife.
Whitney Houston.
Michelle Obama.
My mom's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna go with my mom.
Zendaya.
Nicki Minaj.
Beyonce. Actually, no. Ryan Destiny.
Oh.
Madea.
Wow, that was the first time I've talked to a woman ever.
You know, I used to think women were pretty scary, but now I think they're pretty cool.
Like, ever.
That's all for Man on the Street.
Gary and Daje,
Back to you.
Coming up, our very own Terrence Simmons speaks to women's basketball coach Kate Lynch after the break.
Welcome back to Owl's World. My name is Terrence Simmons, and today I will be interviewing head basketball coach Kate Lynch, a 2018 inductee into the Southern Connecticut State University Alumni Athletic Hall of Fame. In her 7th season as head women's basketball coach at Southern, she has guided the Owls to 52 wins over 3 seasons as head coach at her alma mater, 3 consecutive trips to the NE10 tournament, and 1 NCAA tournament spot. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, and happy Women's History Month.
Thank you, you too. Yeah.
So to start it all off, do you believe it's important to highlight female leaders, not just because of Women's History Month, but all the time?
Yeah, I'm a mother of 2. My daughter is 5 years old, and she's very impressionable. I think it's really important to highlight female leaders all of the time. Frankly, because it's good for our young women to see representation, to see themselves in those spots. And they can dream a little bit bigger too, you know. I just think, like I said, female leaders are really important for our young people to see. They can envision themselves in those leadership spots or the authoritative spots, you know, as they get older, so they can dream big and eventually be where they want to be.
Due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, how did the pandemic affect you and your team? Were there any struggles? I know you guys weren't able to play, so how did it affect you and the rest of your team?
It's really interesting. You don't realize how strong you are as a team or as individuals until you kind of go through something like that. So it was really disappointing when we heard that our season was canceled, but we also understand because the most important thing was keeping everybody as safe as possible. We kind of looked at the brighter side of things. We were able to practice despite not being able to play. So we were just talking about being grateful every single day that we could be together. Even if it was masked up, even if it was 6 feet of separation, just being able to do that and continue to at least practice the sport we love together was really important. And I think that whole situation made us all stronger, as a team and bonded us all together.
So when you said you guys had to either mask up or have 6 feet distance, how did practice usually work? Give me a rundown of what a regular day of practice would be during the pandemic.
Yeah, so in the preseason it was different because obviously everything would change, here and there. So we would just do sort of running drills or sprinting, different things that would get the basketball movements and motions kind of down for us student athletes, and that was kind of like the 6 feet of separation. So I would have one player here, 6 feet away, one player here, going through those motions, and then as we kind of progressed through the season, we were able to mask up and actually scrimmage and play against each other, which was kind of like the culmination of our year. We did we dressed up in our uniforms, we did white, we did blue, just to give them that sort of feel that they were missing that year. So it was definitely a progression. It required a lot of patience and a lot of discipline, but at the end it was something fun that we were able to do.
You guys were able to make memories whilst there was a whole pandemic going on.
Yeah.
At least you guys were together, and that's all that matters.
That's all that mattered. We were very, very fortunate because I know some other teams weren't able to do that in different conferences or different levels, and it was important that we understood that we need to keep each other safe as well. So, yeah.
So, as you know, there's a wage gap between the women's NBA and the NBA. How do you feel about that, and what are some solutions that you think could solve this problem?
Yeah, there definitely is a wage gap, obviously, and I think that a lot of that has to do with, obviously, things that are beyond me in terms of, ticket sales and things like that. But I love that there are some NBA players who are always, pushing for the WNBA or supporting the WNBA, and I think that's huge in terms of viewership, in terms of respect, because the WNBA players do exactly what the NBA players do, but they do it in a much shortened season during the summer. And then our women do have to go overseas and play to kind of support their families during the year. I just think it's about raising awareness of, the wage difference, and continuing that support from the NBA as well. I think that's probably the two most important things.
Because some people, they believe that it doesn't exist. They think that everything's all sunshine and happiness, that everyone's getting paid the same amount of money, but it's obviously not like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, whether it's, basketball, whether it's soccer, there's a lot of different sports where, there's definitely a wage gap, and I think just raising awareness to viewers, because a lot of viewers are watching it for pleasure, but they don't really realize the discrepancies between the two. I think that's step one. I mean, we're still far away from, getting to the end goal of, at least kind of closing that gap. It might never be the same. We hope that it will be. But I think step by step, you need to start closing that gap.
So you are an all-time leading scorer in the history of SCSU women's history, and you have a lot of other accolades underneath your belt at Southern. Tell us about that and the difference between coaching and playing.
All those accolades just seem so silly now. I'm getting old, so. But obviously, all those things would never have been accomplished if it weren't for my teammates and my coaches. I had, to this day, I still have the best coaching staff, in the country, and the best teammates. We still talk all the time via, group message or FaceTime. People having babies and getting married and all those great things. So the difference between coaching and, I guess, actually playing, I feel like it's an advantage for me because I actually played here too, and I played under the same circumstances. So for me and my staff, actually both of my assistants played here as well, and one of them was my teammate, Coach Iriak. It's something I can relate to them in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the age gap is getting wider and wider as each year goes by. I get a little bit older, but the difference between coaching and playing. I mean, coaching is something that I love to do. I love to see the progression from each individual player, and then from year to year. I mean, from the beginning of the year, for example, we weren't the same team as the team that ended because there's some progression and there's a lot of growth. That's what you're focusing on as a coach, and as a player, you're just kind of trying to figure out what your coach wants you to do all the time and how to do it to the best of your ability. But I love coaching this group of young people. I love trying to impact them every day as well in a positive way. My goal is that I can empower them. Obviously on the court, it seems so small, but if I can empower them on the court, I feel like they can move forward and do that in the world. So my goal is always to, give them as best of experiences I possibly can.
So what actually got you into being a coach? Like what was the starting point where I want to do this? This is what I want to put this is what I want for my future.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So I was really fortunate. It was my junior year in 2007. We won the D2 National Championship, and the coach that had recruited me, Coach Frager, he took the head coaching job at Fairfield University, which was a jump up because it's D1. And then after I graduated, I think a lot of student athletes feel this way, like, what do I do without my sport? How can I still stay in it? And some of the ideas floated around, like, okay, I can be a teacher and coach as well at the high school level. But I was really fortunate that during the summer, where I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, Coach Frager called me up and said, hey, I have a director of basketball operations position, open at Fairfield. Would you want to come and coach? And that's an entry-level position. You're kind of doing all the, not dirty work, but, you're the hotels and their practices and meals and flights and all those things, all the things that you need
it's
to
stressful.
learn. Yeah, you're learning at that point. But I spent a year there and I just kind of got the bug, and I realized I'm like, okay, I really, really like doing this. Like, let's see how far I can do this. And I'm super fortunate to be here at Southern because this is my dream job. This is exactly where I want to be. So a lot of thanks goes to Coach Frager for sure for recruiting me here and then giving me that opportunity, moving forward.
As a female coach, coaching the SCSU women's team, what are some struggles or difficulties that you had to face as being a female coach? Like, have you ever felt like people are mistreating you because of your sex or gender? Like, have people thought that you weren't good at your job because of who you were?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm really, really fortunate. We have a really great athletic department and really great support staff. They cheer for us just as hard as anybody else, male, female, whatever that may be. So we're really fortunate in that area. So no, I haven't. It's just, I just feel a lot of pride from everybody, on whether it's a male sport or a female sport.
So I want to know, who is your favorite female athlete?
Oh my God, that's like a tough question. I probably have a couple. Currently, I go by my daughter too. So she loves Sabrina Ionescu. She's in the WNBA. She played at Oregon, and now she's with the Liberty. I do like Aaliyah Boston from South Carolina. She is awesome. She's great, really hard to guard. Seems like a really great person too. Does a lot of community work as well. I think this is my two right now. Obviously, we're big UConn fans as well in my house too. If it's not Southern,
it's
UConn.
definitely gonna be UConn. I'm trying to think of something else. Honestly, if you could go back in time, what are some things that you would change about when you first started being a coach? Like what's something that you could go back and be like, I would definitely change that aspect?
It's so interesting because I started this journey, when I was 23. So that's probably, 15 years ago. Everything has progressed so much in a lot of ways. And I wish we knew or understood a little bit more about mental health 15 years ago. I wish that was more on the table, for coaches to be able to recognize it, to be able to help a little bit more. Because at that point, it wasn't something that anybody really spoke about. But I'm glad that we're here now, because part of my job is, it's of course to coach and you want to win games and give the best experience, but it's also to make sure that my student athletes specifically are being taken care of both, emotionally, mentally, physically, in any way, shape or form. That I can do that, I will do that for them and provide them resources. So I guess I wish we had known more back then, but thankful to be in this spot where we do know a little bit more.
No, the change is actually very important. We do need to focus more on athletes' mental health and how it feels to be working out on the field, and also being a student as well.
You're human, right? They're human. You guys are all human, and you've got a lot going on between studies and whether it's work from the outside. 'Cause I know a lot of students work here as well, and our student athletes, I have student athletes who are nursing students as well, and they've got the struggle of that and basketball and just your daily lives. So I think it's important for coaches to really recognize that, and to make sure that we recognize that they're humans. They're young adults who need guidance.
All right, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you again, Kate Lynch, for joining us, and thank you for watching Owl's World. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at SCSUTV. We'll see you next time.